Welcome to my video on Corinth. This is Corinth here, and you can probably see I'm not in it, but Corinth for me is more of a geography than a place. Corinth, as established here, was 1858, but this is the Corinth Isthmus, and it's the geography of this place that defines the history of this place, and therefore I felt it appropriate to start up in the Acrocorinth and show you the four key places. We're on the Acrocorinth. This is the Acropolis of Corinth, a Byzantine castle, an Acropolis, a Hellenic temple, which I'm now standing on rather heretically. Then you've got the Ionian Sea over here. You've got the Aegean Sea over here. You've got the Corinth Canal, world famous, separating and connecting the two. And at the foot of this, at the foot of the Acrocorinth, you've got Ancient Corinth. So let's visit those four places, starting with the Acrocorinth, and understand why there were tyrants here, why St. Paul the Apostle was here, why the Romans were here, why the Ottoman Empire was here, because it's got it all. So the Acrocorinth is built on a huge monosyllabic chunk of rock which just rises out of the plain, and you'll see from my footage that I took down at the bottom, it's dominant in every way, every facet. So the geography of Corinth is key to its history. That's why I've come up here. You can see it's an isthmus of Corinth as it's known, and it's a spit of land connecting the Peloponnese with mainland Greece. And the key thing here is that Corinth is right in the middle, and this Acropolis is right in the middle. It dominates the land. And you've got this separation of the Ionian on the left and the Aegean on the right. But in the far distance, you've got Athens. And then over to the left, we've got Thebes. And then down here to the south, we've got Argos, and we've got Sparta. And in the 6th century BC, these were the key city-states of Greece, and they all met here. This was the middle. Corinth was the point at which they all had to meet, talk and fight, and that is really why this place is so important and has so much history. It's astonishing. So the Acrocorinth is built on a huge monosyllabic chunk of rock which just rises out of the plain, and it was incredibly easy to defend as a result. It's had defensive fortifications up here for 2,500 years, although it's the Byzantine period and the Ottoman period when these really came into their own. The Ottomans in particular rebuilt this place and used it as a key control point for the Peloponnese during their occupation of Greece. In all, you come to Corinth, it's an hour away from Athens in a car or on a coach, and if you're strong you come up here, if you're foolhardy you come up here like me, and you just have a fantastic day out from Athens. If you come in the summer, bring a hat, bring water, bring sunshade, bring food, because you are going to feel it. It's February today and I'm feeling it, but look at these views. And you don't get a feel for this place from up here. This place up here doesn't feel, it's just a few rocks. It's when you're down the bottom and you look up and you see this amazing Byzantine castle and fortification, and you can see the ring of defences around it, and you realise just how important this place was. This place is and remains the most important and largest Byzantine castle in the Peloponnese, and it's astonishing. Now, the observant amongst you may notice the weather has changed and my clothes have changed. In fact, it's a different day. I came down from the Acrocorinth to film this place, and it was a Tuesday, and there was a sign on the door saying closed on Tuesdays. Who knew? I didn't. So it's now 8 days later. I'm back again. It's actually warmer, although it probably looks a bit cooler. And I can assure you not a lot has changed here in that time. So let's have a look round. Now, ancient Corinth here we see the Temple of Apollo from Roman times, has a huge and important history. We have tyrants, we have the visits of St. Paul, we have the Romans, we have earthquakes, and there's so much history here, I'm just going to pick out a few events just so that you get a feel for this place as we walk around and have a look at it. And we'll start, I think, probably with the beginning, which was about 900 BC, post-Mycenaean time. 900 BC, there were a few villages here. And then we zip forward to about 650 BC when the first of the tyrants, a guy called Cypselus, took over from the Bacchiad here. Now, the Bacchiad had brought the tribes together and effectively created Corinth, but they had ruled effectively as a council, a family council, if you like. And Cypselus came in after seeing the oracle who said that he should rule here, and took over. And he was a tyrant, but he was not a tyrant in the sense that we understand it. I mean, tyrants are, by their very nature, above the law. That's really the definition of a tyrant. They're without boundaries. But it doesn't mean they're all evil and all bad, and he wasn't. And he and his son in particular, Periander, who ruled here about 600 BC, were huge builders, and they built really ancient Corinth, but not what we see now, because the Romans came in at about 146 BC and had a war and razed this place to the ground. It disappeared. They killed all the men, they sold the women and children into slavery, and Corinth ceased to exist. Then Julius Caesar, just before his death in 44 BC, re-established Corinth effectively as a Roman city, and mainly I think because of the Acrocorinth up there, and the Acrocorinth has a defensive position over the Peloponnese. He re-established this, and what we see here really is a Roman city as a result. And you can see it's huge. You can spend half a day here quite happily walking around. And this became a major city. So we have this Roman town, and then in 365 and again in 375 there were two huge earthquakes, which basically knocked this place down. And then there was an invasion in, I think, 395, and this place was conquered and continued to operate until about 700 AD. Then there was a huge earthquake, another huge earthquake in 850 AD, which killed reputedly about 45,000 people. So, although it's magnificent, it didn't have the best of times. It was a little bit unlucky, I think, old Corinth in terms of its history. Now, the most interesting thing, I think, for a lot of people about this place, and this agora, of course, which was like a forum, a place where people would come and talk, is that Saint Paul the Apostle was here. He lived here for about 18 months as a tent maker, between about AD 49 and AD 50. And he wrote, after he left, the letters to the Corinthians, and he established the Christian church here, which makes Corinth and the church in Corinth an apostolic see. And you can see where these children are up here is reputedly where Paul would stand and orate, talk to the assembled masses about Christianity. And in those days, of course, it was Jewish synagogues here, and he used to preach in the synagogues and fell out with the synagogues. And we had the first and the second letters to the Corinthians from Paul, the second one in particular defending himself against charges of sedition and religious sedition. Now, the centre of the Roman Forum in Paul's time was this Berma, or place of address, and effectively what happened was that people, including St. Paul, will have come up here and stood on this platform and addressed the assembled masses. During Paul's time here in Corinth, he was taken on trial and brought before the governor of the area here at the Berma, this building here, which is in the centre of the forum. Now, it now has the form of an old Byzantine church because it became a Byzantine church. Paul will have been here. This is fact. He would have preached here, he would have talked here, he was put on trial here. The governor refused to try him because he saw it as a dispute between Jewish factions, and Paul left shortly afterwards, probably to save his life. But then he wrote to the Corinthians his two famous letters. There may have been four. Scholars think there may have been four letters to the Corinthians, but he certainly wrote two, and those are in the Bible, letters to the Corinthians. But you can see, and I've been looking for Christian nomenclature here. Here is Christian nomenclature. Now, was this here when Paul was here? I'm not sure, because this became a church in Byzantine times as a result of its connection with Paul. But it is a fact that Paul was here in Corinth in AD 49, AD 50, and it is a fact that he would have stood on this spot and addressed the people of the forum. Also in Corinth, in ancient Corinth here, a fabulous museum. It's just amazing. And I'm just going to give you a glimpse of it, because I know museums can be boring, but sometimes even boring museums are very interesting. And this is a museum to rival any museum in London. It's quite magnificent. If you come to Corinth, for God's sake, ignore the canal, come here, spend your day here. It's the most amazing place. It absolutely takes your breath away. And it's done so well. The Greeks are brilliant at representing their past. In 1821, there was the independence war against the Ottomans and the Greeks. The Greeks won, and this place was handed over to the Greeks in about 1828, I think. And then in 1858 there was another huge earthquake here, and as a result of that the town was completely located from around these ruins down to what is now New Corinth. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to come back and do a video solely on Ancient Corinth. Do some proper research before I film it. So, right next to Ancient Corinth, there remains a little village. Despite the fact Corinth being relocated 3 kilometers from here in 1858, there remains this lovely village, obviously here for the ruins and the tourists, but I'd highly recommend that you visit it because you can buy reasonable mementos here of your visit. Plus, if you want to have lunch or if you want to have a drink, you can do so. It's walking distance. You don't need to get in the car. You leave your car at the car park and just come down here. I mean, in a way, in a funny way, as someone who lives in Greece, this feels a bit like Disneyland. It's got a nice square. It's a Greek village, but it's very strange. It's full of tourists. It's very clean. The roads are cobbled. They do allow cars through here, which is a bit strange, but not many. And the closest I can say is I feel like I'm in Disneyland. It's almost like it's not real. But if you're a tourist, you're coming here, you want to eat, I would highly recommend it. Now reached modern Sparta, and here I am in the centre. I wanted to give you a feel for it. You can see in the distance the Acrocorinth, the monolithic rock that the Acrocorinth is actually built on, where we started our little tour. And as I mentioned, this place didn't exist till 1858, when there was a huge earthquake and they decided to abandon the ancient site of Corinth and relocate the city to this location here. Now I'll be honest, look, I mean, there are some nice things here. We'll walk down, you'll see there's a statue of Pegasus. The sea is quite nice. But in the end, this is not a place that is worth making a big effort to visit. It's very nice. I'm not going to take anything away from the residents. It's a nice town centre, but it's a very industrial place. And there's not a lot to commend it to the tourists, other than the fact they come down here to see Acrocorinth, Ancient Corinth, and also the Corinth Canal, of course. It's a good place perhaps to stop for lunch, although as you saw there's a very nice area around Ancient Corinth as well, set up specifically for that. But you've got all the shops here that you'd normally have: Benetton, Public, Christobolus. I mean, it's a major regional centre for Greece, in, unsurprisingly, the county of Corinth. It's carnival time, which is why if you look you see masks and puppets hanging from the lampposts and so on. And it's a very pleasant spring day. It's got a lovely view by the seaside, the Ionian Sea here, nice fountain in the middle. And let's have a quick look at the statue of Pegasus. Either side you have restaurants. On this main square in the centre, I'm going to try and cross this road in a fairly easy way. These restaurants are very nice. I have eaten here once or twice before, but it's not something I always come to. You can see Public down there. And the council makes a good effort with it. They know they have a lot of tourists coming here. They know they have to make an effort with it. You can also get ferries from here. Here's the statue of Pegasus itself and the little harbour. It's beautiful. Well worth visiting if you're coming for something else. And a very modern Greek city. Very pleasant at this time of year. Probably pleasant at any time of year. Parking was okay. There's lots of municipal parking if you're driving yourself. Otherwise, you can get a train. It's only 55 minutes from Athens. It's at the end of the line. They're very lucky they still have a train line. Most train lines in Greece ceased after the Greek economic crisis. This one, fortunately, you can go straight from here to the airport. It's amazing. So, Pegasus does look special, I have to say. But I hope that gives you a little feel for modern Corinth. And now let's hop on further down the coast and have a look at the most famous thing of all, the Corinth Canal, which is just over there somewhere. So here I am, finally at the Ionian end of the Corinth Canal, world famous Corinth Canal. And I don't know what people think of this, whether they believe it's ancient or they believe it's modern, but I can tell you right now, it was built and completed between 1881 and 1893. It opened in 1893, and you know, statistics get quoted at you. It's 63 meters high. The most interesting thing for me is it has no locks. It's all at sea level, and it's 6.4 kilometers long, but it's not ancient. That's the interesting thing. There were attempts by the tyrants, Periander in particular, to dig a canal here, but they failed. And Nero had 6,000 Jewish slaves brought here in an attempt to build a canal here, but he also failed. But there was something that was here, and I'm delighted to see they're doing works here to protect it, because it's really not known. But before the canal, there was a roadway called the Diolkos Roadway, and it was really a trainway actually. And what it was a road, a limestone road, and you can see it here, that went all the way from the Aegean, 6 kilometers away, to the Ionian just behind me. And the interesting thing is, I don't know if you can see, there are sort of tracks here and over here, and it was a train way. I mean, not metal tracks as we know, but tracks within the limestone. And what they did here was they would take boats out of the water, put them on carts, wheeled carts, which ran in these tracks. They're 1.6 meters apart, and they brought them from the Aegean to the Ionian, or from the Ionian to the Aegean. And over here you can see more of the roadway behind this car. Unfortunately, it's all covered up now, but I'm quite pleased, because when I was researching this video, it said that all of this was collapsing into the Corinth Canal, and the government has clearly decided that they need to do something about it. So I'm really pleased to see, very busy road, I'm really pleased to see that they've done this, and that they are protecting this fantastic roadway. You can see it here as well. Apparently there's only about 1 kilometre of it left that exists. So what you've got here is the newest, there we go, you can see it under the tarpaulin here running down there. What we've got here is the newest thing in the Corinth Isthmus, which may surprise people, but it's the Corinth Canal. The Corinth Canal here at the Ionian end. And then we've got the oldest thing here as well, 2,500 years old. And that is the roadway that existed here before this canal. Some canal though. Even for something built in 1893, it's very, very impressive. 63 meters deep here, 8 meters deep in the water, 25 meters wide. Hell of a thing. Looking down towards the Ionian end here. So I hope you've enjoyed my little look at Corinth. I can tell you, even if it was built in 1893, the Corinth Canal is impressive and it's worth coming to look at. But have a look at the old road as well. Have a look at the Acrocorinth if you've got the legs for it. Definitely have a look at Ancient Corinth. So please subscribe. I need some subscribers. I get loads of views, but I'd love some subscribers. And I hope you watch some of my other videos on Greece and the UK. Thank you.